Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Lyfe Choyces Podcast.
Yeah!
Welcome back, everyone, to the Lyfe Choyces Podcast, where we discuss mindset, success, the good and the tough aspects of going after your passion.
Self to you, I'm Bradley David, your host, and today we have DJ Nick Flash.
What's going on, Bradley?
Not
Happy to be
buddy.
here.
Chilling like we do. How's your day going?
Normal day.
Yeah, what is that? What's a normal day in the life of a DJ?
A lot of like geeky stuff. A lot of listening to music as a DJ can become a job, actually, because I'm not just like listening to music to relax or whatever. A lot of the times when I'm listening to music, it's because I'm like gathering what am I going to play this week? What am I going to play this month? And kind of going through all different kind of music on Spotify, going down rabbit holes. And then there's the organization of that music. So on Spotify, I might hear 100 songs. Mm-hmm. Out of that 100 songs, I may have liked 20, 25 of those songs, right? Like really liked them. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to go through those, download those, find the crates for them, and then put them in and put them into the crate.
Okay. This is a virtual crate.
Virtual record crate, correct.
Right. Because nowadays is a lot different than, what we grew up watching people do, which is literally schlep in an actual crate of all their vinyl.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So would you say this is a bit more tedious because you actually have to filter through all of this technical?
I don't know if it's more tedious. I don't think it's more tedious, no, because it still requires the same amount of listening.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just kind of cutting out going to the record store. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I started DJing, I first started because I was just obsessed with vinyl.
Okay.
Right? I was just a vinyl collector.
Right.
That was just one of the ways that I got into DJing. Mm-hmm. So I was always obsessed with hip hop culture as a kid. Right? And I wasn't a good break dancer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I knew I wasn't a very good artist, so graffiti wasn't really in my wheelhouse.
Right.
I did write a lot of poetry as a kid, so like rapping tended to be something that I was really into. And I got into like the rap aspect of hip hop first. Mm-hmm. And then as I progressed, I wanted to learn scratching and, I wanted to learn the turntablism part of hip hop. I thought that was really like important to me. So eventually I got a set of turntables. And
how old were you?
Probably about 21, 22.
Okay.
When I first got turntables.
Got your first decks at 21.
Yeah, 21.
I already had a love for hip hop.
Love for hip hop.
Yeah.
One of the loves that I had though was finding like the samples that like my favorite rappers took.
Okay.
My parents, they listened to a lot of R&B and soul music and stuff growing up, and like jazz and smooth jazz. And I would always be like, turn it off, dude, for real. Like, every kid like doesn't want to listen to what their parents listen to.
Right. I still listen to what my parents listen to, but they listen to like all the.
But maybe now when you're older, but as a kid,
100%.
You're like, this is lame, Dad.
I get what you're saying.
So, but then when like I discovered hip hop, I was like, wait, they're taking the song that my mom listens to, like, Warren G's rapping on like a Michael McDonald song. Like, what's going on?
Right. That kind of piqued the interest.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That aspect of it. So I think that, just a love for vinyl, a love for like finding out like how that record was made.
Right.
How they took samples and manipulated samples to make like a hip hop song.
Yeah. Always
intrigued me. So
when I was going, so this is going to go back quite some time, but when I was living in Ottawa, Ontario, we had this one after hours club called Atomic, and it was the only place we could go for like that kind of music, the DJ, the spinning the vinyl. And what always got me energized, or actually got me on the floor dancing, was those songs like you're talking about, that the musician sampled from the Bee Gees, but put it with some kind of hip hop or drum and bass.
Right.
And it just blew you away because you're hearing two different genres come
Was
together.
drum and bass big?
Drum and bass
after our spot?
At our spot, yeah, they had like a main floor and an upstairs. Basically, the upstairs was the techno, and the downstairs was more of like the hip hop and the drum and bass.
Nice.
And the
Drum and bass is coming back, by the way.
Oh, I fucking love that shit, man.
Yeah, it's coming
my
back, by the
God.
way.
I'm like a pinball machine on the dance floor when that shit happens.
Yeah.
I don't know about now because 45
It's still got a
years
little
young, but-
ways to go, but
Yeah.
it's definitely coming back. Like Skrillex's new track, he's working with Pink Pantheress, and she uses a lot of like drum and bass elements in her songs. So
Okay.
so like that new Skrillex record is a turning point in like the drum and bass resurgence, I should say.
Right. Okay. So the modern day rejuvenation. Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting. How do you feel like, so here in West Palm where you spin, or where I know you spin, I'm sure you do a lot more. What do you think about those clubs right now? Like, are you able to
In West Palm Beach?
Yeah. Are you able to really like what's inside your belly? Like you're a good DJ, and I know that because I go out to the bar and I listen to you and I watch the crowd and everyone. You know.
Where's the last time you see me at?
Kachina?
When?
Would have been last winter.
Last winter. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't seen any DJ.
You got to
since
come out
then.
like now. Like you got to come out.
I'm busy building a company, man.
Hey, you got to party too.
But like
Anyway,
the ability that you have as a DJ, which we know is very important, is to draw that crowd in, and you're not talking to them through words necessarily. You're doing it through the music that you're playing.
yeah.
Do you feel that like you're able to do whatever you want right now?
There's a limit. There's a limit, but right now I'm in a good position. I mean the owners of the venues trust me to make the right calls, and the crowd kind of trust me at this point too.
Do you trust you?
Yeah. I mean, I push the limits. I push the limits. You know what I mean? I definitely give people what's familiar, but I'm always like hipping them to new records.
Yeah,
for sure.
because I think that those of us that do go, I mean, I don't go that much anymore. I don't party that much. But when I was going, I was really going to see how far that DJ could take me.
Right.
I put a lot of my evening in their hands.
Right.
And I think there's a passage from a book I want to read.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll read it later, but you'll be probably pretty impressed that I have this book. But I have the book because of you.
Okay.
Any idea what book?
The DJ book that I posted on my
100%,
Instagram.
man. 100%.
Actually, this is good lead in for that because DJ Underwood, shout out to him. He's the one who gave me that book on Monday. And you're talking about pushing the limits.
Yeah.
Locally, this young cat, DJ Underwood, he helped me actually produce my EP. He was one of the producers on it. But he pushes the limits so far, and like people really respond to him. It's really magic to see. He does Mondays and Saturdays at the OG in Delray.
Okay.
And he's unlike anybody I've ever seen, like on a local level.
Right.
He just takes people on a wild ride. He takes me on a wild ride.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, like he's doing. I mean, he was literally playing. I'm gonna just give you an example. He was playing a song from the original Nintendo Zelda,
Get out of
right?
here.
In the middle of the club, and was mixing it with Drake, like over like, and he was playing that, and then like throwing Drake on, and then he went into like 2010s like Knife Party Skrillex, but then he would like go back into hip hop, and then he would take you onto like reggae Afro house vibes, like up. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you. So like, as when it comes to pushing the limits, he's really doing that. And like, in order for me to push limits more, I got to go see what the younger cats are doing.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, I got to go see because sometimes I feel like I can get in my own world, and it tends to become a little bit more mechanical and methodical.
Okay.
And when I was a younger DJ, I used to be like he was, like going everywhere and go, you know, but the scene in West Palm, and it's very much more like dance house centric.
Okay.
So I've been tending to stay in the 120, 125, you know, beats per minute range, whereas he's like dipping and diving and coming up, you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see. But as far as pushing limits, yes and no. I try to be very familiar, but I'm always looking for new records. And my style as a DJ now is to kind of just do what I think is right without trying to go over people's heads, basically.
Right. Yeah. Well, you still need to be able to bring them in, which is important. Otherwise, it won't be on the dance floor.
Right.
Right. I mean, I love your passion right now when you talk about other people and how they're doing certain things. And, your love of music is clear. Like, I've only known you for a short period of time. We had a pizza party here and you came. And even though we had kind of crossed paths before, we didn't really connect until we actually had a conversation here, which clearly got us to this point. And like you said earlier about coming by more often, I mean, doors always open.
Yeah. No, I really want to make it a point this year to come by.
We don't have hundreds of people that come by the compound and hang out and do that sort of stuff. Regularly, we have a select few people that don't need an invitation. You're one of them. You don't need to call ahead.
That's awesome.
Just like if you're in the neighborhood and you're like, damn, I wonder what the boys are doing. You just drive on over. If no lights are on, no lights are on. But hey, 99% of the time, we're in here just chilling, just having conversations. So
gotcha.
Doors always open for good people.
Cool.
So let's talk a little bit about possibly the fears as a 21-year-old, which is a hard time in people's life to go after something. You got your first decks at 21 and started learning your craft, which, let's be honest, most people would probably tell you not to go after such a career because in some people's eyes, unfortunately, how are you going to make money? Most people don't realize how much money a DJ can make, and they've made this kind of money for years. It's like in the book, DJ Saved My, was it The DJ Saved My Life?
Yeah. That's cool that you're reading. I haven't picked it up yet, read yet.
Dude, that's
sick.
When I respect somebody, and when it comes to books, which is my new thing over the past year, I'm all about educating myself on a multitude of different topics. And when someone I respect says, hey, you got to read this book, dude, the instant I saw your post, Amazon, cart, purchase, got it.
Well, one of the things I talk about with DJ Underwood is like the appreciation of like history when it comes to making music, like knowing your history as a DJ. And when he pulled that book out, like I was like, oh damn, like he takes his history very seriously. And I think as a musician or any kind of artist, you do in a sense have to take your history seriously. You have to know about the people that came before you. You have to like see pay homage and see certain trends and things like that. You know what I mean? So
well, I read in the book, and it's early on in the book, it talks about how, DJs, some people don't realize it. Like you can make, thousands of dollars a night for doing a set. And people need to understand doing a set's not easy. It is artistry, and it does take time and effort and practice to put together a good set. It doesn't just happen like in 1 second. And, the fact that, DJs nowadays, they are flying in private jets and taking around in limos, and like it's a very celebrityism type job now. But when you were 21, maybe not as much.
Oh no.
And taking that leap of faith in yourself to make a career out of spinning music at a club, most people would kind of look down upon that. How does that kind of topic in the conversation make you feel, or how did it make you feel then compared to now?
Back then I really didn't care about anybody's opinion about what I didn't really like. Yeah. I didn't really have a lot of people in my ear telling me like, you can't do that. Or like, I didn't really have that. Like, I was just kind of young and like doing my thing. I think I worked, like I was always been in the hospitality business. So I was always like a waiter or something in a restaurant, you know what I mean? So I was making money, and then I had little side hustles here and there that I made some money. So I wasn't really hurting for money. Right. When I did something, I just basically did it cause I liked it. Yeah. Music was just something I did cause like I liked that. It really didn't care. I just wanted to like learn how to scratch and like be able to, so I didn't really care, When I started doing actual parties, I had just seen somebody in the paper that said, DJs wanted and birthday parties, whatever, so, and that's back then it was like, there was no Serato yet. Like it was just getting started. So like I was spinning on CDs. So I had to like burn CDs and, I had like full things of CDs. I would buy CDs and, rip them and all that. So I didn't really have a lot of people telling me like you can't or anything like that.
That's amazing. So you had more of a support system.
I did.
People telling you.
Yeah,
no.
I did. I mean, even when I was like working in the restaurant, like they knew I DJ night. They had a kids party or something, like, oh, here, like let's have Nick DJ it. Nobody was like, no, you shouldn't do that or you can't do that.
That's amazing.
As far as DJing goes.
Because unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't have that support system already when they start something new.
And I'm sure some people had some doubts, but they didn't really express them or whatnot,
And it sounds like regardless, you wouldn't have let it bother you anyway.
No, that back then I was like kind of delusional. As a kid, I was kind of delusional.
So
I was just like,
you say back then, but it doesn't bother you now.
What?
Any of the stuff?
Oh, a lot of things bother me more now. Things bother me more now. Yeah.
How so?
I don't know. I mean, I'm more confident, but like I am also a little bit more sensitive to because reputation is so important in this line of work or in any line of work. So, I do tend to take people's comments a little bit more seriously depending on what the situation is.
Okay.
Just so I can like know how to respond, I guess you could say. You know what I mean?
What would be like your worry though, that if you responded incorrectly, like you wouldn't get a gig?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many like little political things when it comes to like the nightclub scene.
Okay.
There's so many.
Some of us like, see, I'm not in the nightclub scene.
There's so many. Well, I mean, I think nightclub scene and business scene, there's so many little nuances like in a social setting that can affect you so greatly. Okay. So I tend to be more on the lookout for those things, like a comment here or something said here or body language here that tells me
yes or
certain
no.
things that could be beneficial or not beneficial in my career or hinder the career.
Okay,
exactly.
so you actually have to be more aware of your surroundings than most people, because if you move left or move right, someone might interpret that incorrectly, and that could snowball into something else down the line within the community.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting.
Right.
So I wouldn't.
That's
a tough situation.
Yeah. So I am aware of people's comments. I don't try to like let them. I don't stew on them or whatever. But I am just more aware of people's comments, and I like to think a little deeper why they pat me on the back so much, or why they criticize.
Right. Who are the people in your industry that you would say you either look up to or that you like can confide in, like?
Well, I would say one of my mentors, Kenny Mondo, he's had a mobile DJ business for like 30 years here in Florida. He's been a DJ like most of his life, and he kind of took me under his wing and showed me the ropes. So I trust him. He's known me since I first started, and he kind of believed me and pushed me and things like that. So I tend to confide in more of the people I knew like back in the day, that were there for me like in the beginning.
Your day ones.
Yeah.
It's important to have those people, because it's hard to find people that you can like rely on and trust. And like you said, I got those guys here, and I didn't have them 10 years ago. I've known these guys for 10 or 12 years, and they get me through, and I get them through. We all kind of lean on each other to make sure that we're all good at the end of the day.
So what else would you say is in the mix right now for you?
I mean, there's quite a lot of things. There's quite a lot of things. I don't want to like list them off because in case they don't happen and this and that. I just want to focus on my writing this year. Okay. Realistically writing, whether it be songs or whether it be like fiction.
Okay.
So
writing fiction.
Yeah.
Like what?
So I have some children's book ideas, and I have some like Amazon has this new thing that they're offering now called I don't know what, like Kindle Vella.
Okay.
Kindle Vella is like basically writing like episodic fiction.
Okay.
So I have like a lot of things that I've written that it's very long that I could actually chop up into little like episodes.
Gotcha.
So I want to try to like delve into that. I'm not sure how much of that like I'm gonna delve into this year, but that's something that I'm pretty passionate about.
Okay, so we have multifaceted stuff going on.
Yeah, and then with my company, the Lightbulb Agency, I'm working on acquiring a couple of intellectual properties.
Okay.
And being able to like manage that too. So there's an element of business in there as well.
Okay, I love it. I love people that go after multitudes.
But I don't want to try to spread myself thin. Like a big goal of this year is just not to take on too much. Just focus on the writing and focus on the art a little more than the business. Trying to keep a good balance of business and art, you know.
Right. Now, how are you going to do that? Because obviously, we all know when you're trying to do something, you still got to pay the bills.
Right. So in that regard, I'm gonna stick to the business of like booking DJs and booking talent and stuff like that. You know, keeping the club circuit going.
So you're still going to spin music,
book other DJs,
right, okay.
And things like that.
So you're going to continue. We'll call it a 9 to 5, even though the hours are different.
Yeah.
But that's your main source. Of getting stuff done. But you're going to continue with the grind of going after these other businesses that you do, these other ventures.
Correct. They kind of tie into what I do. So.
Right. So it's a full time every day, 7 days a week. Not much rest. Keep it going.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
No stop.
No stopping. It's all uphill from here.
Right? There's no time for vacation.
Yeah.
There isn't.
Well, I mean, I feel like when you do what you love, it's kind of, your life is like a vacation in a way. You can set your life up to where it comes almost vacation-like.
Right. So, like, basically, you wake up when you want, knowing that you still have to put in a lot of hours.
Right.
But if you want to take a couple hours off in the middle of a day and go see a friend for lunch,
boom,
you're good.
Boom.
Right?
There you go.
Work on your own schedule.
Boom.
That's the dream for everybody.
That's the dream.
All right. I mean, I like it. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to move away from my 9 to 5 to get my 5 to 9 going and become self-sustainable, which is what it is. And eventually, I would like to have as many companies and businesses and ventures like you have going on for yourself right now. That's obviously the goal. I don't ever want to sit still.
Yeah.
I can't. I want to keep going and keep being busy.
Hell yeah.
What's big picture for you, though? What's 10 years from now?
I want to focus on more like family stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to build because I feel like the one thing I did learn on the road, if your relationship life is not healthy, you can forget about your creative life being healthy.
Right.
To be honest with you.
So relationship life, like all relationships? Or are we speaking about a specific relationship?
No, I mean, I guess I'm speaking more in terms of family, I guess, family and friends, but, you know, maybe having more children, things like that.
Okay, gotcha.
I think that's really, really important.
Right. Well, I mean...
For me, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I don't have any children yet that I know about, but it's something I've always wanted, and, you know, it's not something I can speak too much upon because I've only ever been a child. I've never been a parent. I don't know what that life is like. I'm sure it's very difficult at times, but very rewarding at times. So for someone of yourself that says you want more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to be able to help raise my niece and nephew, my daughter, have, you know, more children, maybe have a boy, you know.
Yeah. And have a good relationship with your parents.
Correct.
All that sort of stuff. I think that's a wonderful thing to bring up because, you know, everyone talks, you know, everyone says things that sound nice, you know, like, oh, I love my family and like blah, blah, blah. But like, do you spend time with them?
Right.
Do you call them? You
right.
know, a lot of people don't. A lot of people are wrapped up in their own world.
Which I tend to be wrapped up in my own world. I do tend to be that more often than not. But, I mean, with that being said, also knowing that that's something I want to work on, you know what I mean? And that's not to take anything away from the work. It's more just about having someone you can trust there, that you do want to have kids, you'll be able to raise kids properly, or, you know, in a way that's beneficial to the world, really.
Right.
You know,
and having that ability to communicate openly in those relationships is important.
Right.
I think we touched base on that on our last episode, is the ability to communicate with others. And when talking about, you know, friends and family, it is very important. It's difficult at times because a lot of people take things too personally when you talk to them about stuff. I can agree with you on being wrapped up in oneself a bit too much. I do tend to focus a lot on myself, my career, what I'm trying to get off the ground running with, and I tend not to. Like, I have 2 older brothers, and we don't talk regularly at this moment, and I'm hoping in time, because I've made that decision that I'm going to put forth the effort more to pick up the phone, which is like what we used to do back in the day, is you'd actually call somebody and say, hey, how you doing? Instead of this texting, which is not really personable anymore. So it's difficult. Where do you start off, do you think?
It starts off obviously with you. Right. You know, seeing the lifestyle that you want to have and want to share with somebody, at least be on the path to that. You don't need that in order to start dating or starting to reach out to people that you want to have relationships with, but at least have a good head start on it.
Right.
You know? And then being able to put yourself out there, like date a lot.
Right.
You know, date a lot. Like,
that's a tricky part.
That it takes time, and it takes time, and it takes effort,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes time and it takes effort, and not just being like set, you know, oh, this person loves me, this person likes me, let me just settle with them because I don't want to put out the work anymore. I don't want to go date anymore.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like,
you know what I mean?
Hey, I do know what you mean, man. I've been out here for a long fucking time. 45 years young, single. I had a couple of obviously unsuccessful relationships, because if they were successful, I'd be with them. It's not easy out there dating. It's a bit discouraging at times, but I understand what you're saying. You have to be willing to be out there.
You really do.
And being mature enough to talk openly with the person, and not just person that you want to date, but like you said, with your friends and your family, you really kind of have to put yourself out there a little bit more sometimes than you'd like to, in order to open up that door, that possibility.
Right.
So, yeah, dating is not fun.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah,
it can be. You know what I mean? You got it is what you make it, realistically.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm at a point right now where it's just like, I don't even want to go out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly, like, maybe it's selfish, and I want to be at home, and I want to work.
And I'm like that too, but that talk about mental health. It does take a toll on you, because when you're working too much, and you don't really have somebody there, to back you up and support you, you can like lag a little bit in the.
You can lose your momentum.
You can lose your momentum.
Gotcha.
Because it starts weighing on you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where
at least me.
Yeah. That's where I lean on, like, my group of boys here is like, my day job takes me out of the country quite often. I come in and out of port regularly. And so when I get into port, I go right back into this. I go right into working, whether I'm sitting at the laptop researching or I'm like talking to a guest or what have you. That's where my mind's at. But when I feel that downslope, when I feel like, oh, fuck, I got to, like, you know, then I just like, hey, boys, let's go drinking.
They're really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I go out once a month on average. I'd say once every like 3 to 5 weeks with the boys.
Ty's going to come out with me tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah.
It's Friday night.
Huh?
It's Friday night.
I know.
Where are we going?
You go to Kachina tonight.
Oh, my fucking Lord. I got to go to Kachina? That's so out of my comfort zone, let me tell you.
Well, I mean, there's definitely some good-looking girls.
Yeah. I mean, look, I gotta be honest with you. On a Friday night, it all depends on what happens when the boys get home.
Right.
Some nights the boys get home and it's like straight to working on
Cam's
cars.
out. He's
Cam's
out
all the time right now.
Cam's partying.
That's a different story. Yeah. He's on that vibe right now, let me tell you. And he's winning in that aspect.
Yeah.
Every day winning. So, yeah, it all depends on, like, the night. Like, sometimes the boys get home and we just start working on cars.
Right.
And then other nights, you know, if someone's like, hey, man, let's go downtown, like, boom, that's it. Change, shower, let's go. But being out there for me, it's tricky right now. Like, you know, I'm 45 years young. I have a mentality right now, which is all about my company and all about my business. It's what I'm geared to. And I don't go out with the idea of, hey, I'm going to go meet the love of my life. I'm going out because, you know, I want to go hang with my boys and let off some steam and have some drinks.
Right.
Being that, you know, you were in a serious situation and you're not now, what was that like?
Well, real quick, I have to. So I was hanging out with a girl last night, and we were talking about dating, whatever. And she was like, "Well, why don't you just go to the bookstore and hang around by the fantasy section of the bookstore and like when you see a girl reading a book, just go up and talk to her." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Have you done that?"
Yeah, not creepy at all.
Yeah. I was like, all right, well, and then she was like telling me about how she met this guy in a bookstore, and the relationship was terrible. Like it ended up being terrible. So I'm like, you're not giving me much confidence on there.
And then at the same
compared to the club is here. She's like, you don't want to meet a girl in the club. Just go to the bookstore. She's like, go to the bookstore. I'm like, I mean, that could be a good idea.
Right. I mean, I've tried a bunch of different stuff. Like I've put myself out there.
That's what girls will always tell you. That go to the grocery store.
Don't go to the bar, but
go to the grocery store.
Babe, you're in the bar.
I would love to go to the grocery store and meet girls.
But they're in the bar. I mean, that's the unfortunate truth about it. Like, trust me, I'm at the grocery store. I'm at the gym.
Yeah.
Every place you go to as a man, it's like you can't approach these girls because it's like you're infringing on their time, on their space. Well, I don't want to meet you in a bar. I honestly don't.
Right.
You know, because I know what happens in there. I've been there for friggin' 20 some odd years.
Right.
I want to meet the girl at the grocery store.
Right.
But how many times do you like, hey, how you doing? No, don't talk to me. That's weird.
Right.
You just can't.
Yeah. You got to push past that social, being awkward at the grocery store.
Oh, dude, I'm awkward as a motherfucker.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
That takes practice, you know.
Listen,
it takes a lot of rejection at the grocery store to bag one.
I'm in a grocery store multiple hours of a day when I'm working, right? Because what I do for a living, I got to go grocery shopping and buy all the product and all the food and you know, whatever. And I'm strolling up and down these aisles nonstop. And if I see a pretty girl, I'm like, hey, how you doing? I get nothing.
Nothing.
Maybe depends on which grocery store, but let me tell you,
Whole Foods, you're gonna have a better shot,
dude.
You're gonna have a better shot. But instead of saying hi, you know, maybe look at what she's eating. You know, like look at.
I mean, I
like the Goodles mac and cheese over the Kraft.
Yeah.
Shout out to Goodles.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I use the truff hot sauce. It's it comes from the black truffle. Yeah. As opposed to,
it's actually a good hot sauce.
Oh, it's great hot sauce.
Yeah, we have that. But it's true. Like sometimes I'll be walking, I'll be at like the meat counter or like whatever, and like because I'm there so often, and you know the department heads know who I am, and they know I'm placing an order. You know, someone will walk up and I'll see what they're about to order, or they're asking a question or whatever, and I pipe up in there like, well, I'll tell you the truth, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I cook for a living, and right away all of a sudden the interest does change a little bit. I'm not offensive anymore. I'm more of like a helper, and I'm like, well, what I do is I usually buy like the short rib, and then what I'll do is I'll grab some, and I go through that approach, and usually like you get a little bit of conversation, but then it's like you go in right after for the kills, like, oh, can I get your number?
Just be like, oh, I'm cooking something this week. You know, trying a new dish. You should try it.
Should come on.
Come by.
You never know. All right, hey man, I'm gonna implement this into my practice. See what happens.
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see what happens tonight though.
Roll the dice.
Yes, I love playing dice.
Roll the dice, baby.
It's your turn, eh? I mean, why not, right? We go after our dreams in the same in that fashion, right? We roll the dice. We go after what we want,
right?
But yet, in certain arenas, we tend to pull back.
Mm-hmm.
So what was life like before?
Before what?
In the relationship.
When I was in a relationship? Yeah. You know, I mean, I guess one of the things is I guess I got like too comfortable.
Okay.
I guess I saw things so far ahead and like didn't plan for certain things to go wrong. Didn't plan for certain things to unravel. They just being a little naive, I guess.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? But I guess just really enjoying being in a relationship
and everything that is. Just having that person around.
Yeah, enjoying it. You know,
doing those Sunday mornings and weekday dinners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And where do you think? You know, we don't have to talk about this if you don't.
No, you can.
Where do you think things kind of started to fray away?
Well, in my last relationship, it was more like me being on the road.
Okay.
Me being on the road and just, you know, the way two different places that we were at in life, really.
Right.
And just being apart like for so long, it just wasn't the easiest.
Right.
You know, so there like the dynamics changed basically. Like the dynamic when we were like living closer versus the dynamic on the road was was not the same. So there was more, obstacles to navigate there.
Right.
Basically, more boundaries that were needed, more things like that,
Okay. I mean, it makes it difficult when one person is away for periods of time.
Right.
It's tough. Like, I mean, I know like I said,
I didn't even know when I would have been back.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like.
Well, because there was no plan to come back necessarily.
Right.
You were just, I'm going on this venture.
Right.
But I still got you here.
Right.
We're going to keep working at it, but I'm not sure I'm going to keep going this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, that could put some strain on a situation.
Yeah, so that put some strain.
Yeah.
That put some strain. But.
Okay. And how long has it been since?
Since what?
Since it was over.
I 2 years now almost.
Okay. And we still got a couple
year,
of
2 years.
Still got a couple of layers we're pulling off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, still there. Okay.
Yeah.
But knowing that like neither party was, innocent in the situation.
I don't want to get into any of that,
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, like you being away on the road, that doesn't help the situation.
Right, exactly.
I'm not talking about
the
other nonsense.
Exactly.
That doesn't help the situation, so one has to take ownership over that.
Right.
Are we happier now?
I kind of think back. Do you ever watch The Godfather?
Up top, body. Okay.
You ever watch The Godfather?
You are too funny. The episode we recorded just before this. Not only do I watch The Godfather, but that's part of my living of life.
Well, do you remember when Al Pacino goes to Italy and he meets this beautiful girl there, and the first way he courts her is he goes to her dad and says, "I want to marry your daughter," and that was like the love of his life. Yeah, I wish we could go back to that time.
Oh, dude.
Where like I go to you meet a girl's dad.
Yeah,
you go to him and you say, your daughter's something special. I want to marry her. And like he has to.
The whole family comes.
The whole family. It's like
the whole
that.
Village is on the date.
Right. It's like that. Because, yeah,
it's different. I fully agree with you. The courting is not a thing that happens.
So that was cool
anymore.
back in the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something you do not see in America anymore. And even just talking about it could get me canceled, to be honest with you. But I met a girl the other night and I was so like taken back by her that I was like, I wish I can just call your dad right now and just say, she's coming with me. She's coming with me. like giving her dad my resume and be like, this is what I got going on. We can make this work as a family here. I
mean, that is literally the way shit happened back then. You would show up at the dad's house or at the family's house, or first you'd actually have to find out who the parents are. If you met the girl, you'd have to find out, okay, in the village, whose parents is her. Then you got to go find the parents. Then you got to talk to them and say, listen, I'm the son of so-and-so and so-and-so. This is what I'm bringing to the table. This is where I'm going. Is this a good match? Can we make this work?
Right.
Some would agree and some would not agree with our conversation right now. And that's fine. But it does set a level of almost being a gentleman in one way, because you actually give a fuck that you want to go to the family first out of respect. Right. And that's a big thing for me. It's
out
a
of
big
respect.
thing for you. Out of respect. You want to go to that father, and it's for no other reason. You're not trying to just get laid.
Right.
You're out of respect. You know what, Mr. So-and-so, I'm taken back by your daughter. I'm really, really intrigued.
Right.
I would like this to be the rest of my life. May I bring you, the family, the village out while I take her on a date?
Right.
Shit like that wouldn't fly here.
Oh, no.
No.
But, again, this is just an observation.
Yeah,
This is just an observation.
Godfather trilogy, man. That's like, you got to take
I'm not sure if that was part 2 or part 1. I think it was part 1.
No, it's part 2.
It's part 2, right?
It's part 2.
Are you sure?
No. Part 2 is actually is Robert De Niro's in it. It's the flashback. Part 2 is the flashback of how the Godfather got his start to become the Godfather.
Correct.
Part 1, or is it part 3?
No, it's part 1.
Part 1?
No, it's part 1.
Part 1.
Okay. Yeah. Because he has to get away. Because Al Pacino has to get away. Because
he can't. It's absolutely part 1. Because it's when it's right after he shoots the policeman and the head of the other family.
Correct.
In the Italian
restaurant. I watched The Godfather again recently because there's a really cool show on Paramount Plus called The Offer. You got to watch it. It's just all about how The Godfather was made. You've seen it, obviously.
No, not at all.
You haven't seen it?
No, but you're the second person in the past couple days that
you got it. If you're a fan of The Godfather, you got to watch this show.
All right.
It's really good.
It's on Paramount.
Paramount Plus. Yeah,
Called
it's
The
called The
Offer?
Offer. Miles
All right.
Teller's in it. It's really
Yeah.
good.
All right. I'm absolutely like gonna watch this show now. I gotta go
really
buy a
good.
friggin' trial on Paramount now.
Yeah, you won't regret having Paramount. It's pretty
Okay.
good.
It's good. Offer.
Yeah,
It's gonna change my life.
you'll dig it.
Yeah.
You'll really dig it.
I love it. I love how this shit works.
Yeah,
out
yeah, you'll
sometimes.
really dig it.
This is why I'm doing this podcast stuff, because I love interacting with people and I love to see the nuances on how everyone's kind of brought together. And obviously, like, I interview people that are like-minded like myself, but are doing different types of businesses in different fields and different careers. But the commonality amongst all of us will come through the actual end project here. And just the fact that, like, you know, you're the second guest that has literally brought up The Godfather in the conversation, then brought up The Offer from Paramount. So I'm very intrigued now to watch this show. I'm super stoked.
Yeah.
about
Well,
it.
it's just how The Godfather got made and just everything that went through to get that movie made. It's really incredible stuff. So
Okay, I'm intrigued by it. So you're big into movies? You're a
yeah,
movie buff?
I'm big into movies. Yeah,
And do you bring any of that into your daily life or into your career?
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Yeah.
What would you say is like a couple of integral movies that you've watched that have
Back
kinda
to the
like-
Future
Really?
is probably the most integral movie and like, yeah, who I am as a person. Like,
Really?
I think,
Let's touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. How does Back to the Future? What part of Back to the? Which character or characters?
I mean,
are you a
like
bit-
Marty McFly, I think was genuinely like my hero. Like growing up, like being able to travel through time, you know, skateboarding and hoverboarding and you know, going into the Wild West and jumping on trains and you know what I mean?
adventuring.
Yeah. That movie definitely played a pivotal role in like my creative, who I am as a creative, because I'm very interested in like pop culture,
Right.
and stuff like that, and I was born in '84, so you know, a lot of movies from that era, like the Indiana Jones and
Indiana
Back to the
Jones,
Future and stuff like that, you know, are like big pop culture like inspirations to me, like that I kind of try to incorporate.
It was a great time growing up in that time. I'm a few years before you, but all those movies were huge for us. And pop culture is, I love talking about pop culture because it's what you and I do for a living, whether people realize it or not, is being relatable to so many people. Pop culture is popular because it hits an emotion amongst so many different people.
Right.
And like music, it hits so many different people on so many different levels. You can play one song and have 15 people in a room that are all different personalities, and they can all feel on a different level and amazement towards that one song that you played. And that is what becomes pop culture. You know, talking about motivation and inspiring and helping others, like that's, again, sharing that vulnerable state that you are. That's pop culture because so many people can relate to it. It's relatable. I find it fascinating, though, that like Back to the Future is one of those movies that really helped with your creative flow.
Oh yeah,
it is an epic trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, I can just remember as a kid, like if I was like sick from school or something, eating chicken noodle soup and watching the trilogy. And back then you had the VHS, so I would like set up the VHSs just right, so there was no preview. So like right when you started the second one, it was like exactly at the point when the first one ended. You know what I mean?
I love that you took that much time with a VHS.
Oh yeah,
to
yeah.
figure
You know,
it
you
out.
had to put it right there. Yeah, I didn't want to like the previews, no preview. Like right when the first one stopped, the second one came in, and it was like right in it.
Do you travel?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been to Spain?
No.
Barcelona. Okay. You need to put Barcelona on your list. And I really, really hope that this place is still there when you get there. I was there when I was there. I've been there twice. And there's a bar called Polaroid. Epic Polaroid from back, you know, in the 80s. And I actually have a photo of the two street names that it's on. But if you Googled Polaroid bar in Barcelona, it's down by the waterfront. It's really cool. This whole bar it's small. It's similar size to 4, let's say, in the inside. The whole thing is decked out and all of that stuff. Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. It's all the 80s movies, paraphernalia, and TV shows we used to watch, like He-Man, all the figurines. They have these glass cases with all the different figurines. And you remember, like, before Blockbuster, we just went to, like, a movie rental store?
Yeah.
Like just a regular...
Well, this, yeah. So I've seen that come full circle. When I was back then, there was a video store called Cypress Video that I used to like walk to get movies, you know what I mean? And like the guy who owned it, John, was like my friend, you know? And I couldn't watch PG-13 movies or R-rated movies at the time. So I used to like look up at the horror movies and just be fascinated. Like, I have to see that. Like The Shocker, or it's just these weird VHS like movie boxes that I like really needed to see, you know what I mean? I just remember that time. And then when Blockbuster came in, they put John's store out of business. Yeah, it's unfortunate. And then Netflix came along and put Blockbuster out of business.
Yeah. So all those, remember you could get those movie posters. You could like buy the actual movie posters. So this bar Polaroid is literally the whole inside of it. It's like all wallpaper with all these different movie posters. It's like if you want to go to like a nostalgic type place, but you have a scotch or like a nice drink. I mean, they make wonderful drinks there, but the whole atmosphere was just absolutely wonderful. And they actually had some velvet and velour couches.
There you go.
Yeah, so I was in heaven.
Actually. There you go. Yeah. Pop culture and velvet couches.
I can't go wrong with that, right? I love it. I swear to God, if I could wrap myself in velour every day, I would.
Yeah.
Well, I can and I will. So is there any other movies that you would come to mind that you think influenced your life to get you to where you are?
Yeah, there's a lot. One of the stranger ones would be the show X-Files when I was a kid.
Okay, David Duchovny.
David Duchovny. I wanted to be like David Duchovny. I was
from
like,
X-Files.
From X-Files. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Like I just thought the whole like unraveling conspiracies and like finding aliens. I was obsessed with aliens at the time when I was a kid. You know.
I mean, they're out there. So
yeah, I don't know. I gravitated toward him, but because I got into X-Files, that was kind of like my gateway drug into horror movies.
Okay.
And then I started going like, because I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies when I was a kid. So I had to like make friends that had horror movies, you know what I'm saying? And go to their house to watch horror movies. You know what I mean? So, but the X-Files and Goosebumps books, like as a kid, like opened up the door for like my love of like slasher flicks and like and horror movies.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So are those friends still friends, or they were just getting to the horror movies?
Oh man, I wish I was still friends with the first kid who he had every single horror movie you can think of. He had like he's actually one of the reasons I got into hip hop, believe it or not.
All right.
Because this is interesting because I was selling like chocolate bars back in the day, right? For school, you had to like go sell chocolate bars or whatever. And I knocked on somebody's door, and like somehow the guy who answered the door was talking about movies or whatever. I was telling him I'm a huge X-Files fan. He's like, really? The kid next door that just moved in is a huge X-Files fan, and like you guys should meet or whatever. I was like, okay. And then like he ends up knocking on my door one day.
Really?
Yeah. Like the kid ends up like knocking on my door one day. He's like, hey, I'm new to the neighborhood. Like, you want to be friends?
Right.
And his mom used to just buy him like all the music CDs, all the horror movies. So when I went over to his house and I was watching like Freddy Krueger or something, he pulls out Wu-Tang was what he pulled out first. But then he gave me Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 99 Eternal.
Get out of here.
Right? Once I heard that, that's what changed my whole music perspective. That album, East 99 Eternal by Bone Thugs and Harmony, was like pivotal in me doing music, or me in my introduction to hip hop.
It's so funny. I can actually remember the person that introduced me to Bone Thugs.
Yeah.
And I was 16 or 17, and it was two guys, Scott Rosenthal and Ross Barr. Actually, I was in a youth group in high school, and I was in Cleveland. That's where they're from.
Oh wow!
And Bone Thugs are coming out. They're becoming big, and they're like, "You got to listen to this." And I mean, I was already into rap back then and hip hop. I mean,
I was a little more into the like Green Day and the alternative stuff at that point when I was younger. Okay. Before, I mean, that was
all the same time. Like,
right.
The music was all really, really good back then. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I remember exactly who got me into Bone Thugs.
That's wild.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I haven't
Yes.
thought about that in a minute.
Yeah. So I heard Bone Thugs and Harmony and then I was just like obsessed with like the West Coast rap.
Right.
Like that led me into the West Coast rap, like Warren G and Snoop and Tupac and all that stuff. And then he also had like these Miami bass tapes, like back in the DJ Uncle Al. I don't know if you remember, like
So
it's very specific toward Miami.
Right.
There was a Miami like bass era, Uncle Luke, 2 Live Crew, the Gucci Crew, like things like that, tapes like that. Like so, I would be listening to tapes
Actual
like that.
cassettes.
Yeah, and then in middle school, I ended up sitting next to this kid who was really into like hip hop, like the New York hip hop.
Okay.
Because I was from Miami, so like it was more like booty bass and like West Coast stuff. But then he made me a tape. This kid that was sitting next to me in middle school, must have been like 7th grade, 8th grade, whatever. He gives me a tape, and on this tape it had Gangstar, Slick Rick, and Dougie Fresh. And it was Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh and Gangstar and Rakim and like the original pioneers of hip hop.
Right.
And that's what like really was like, okay, wow, this is more than just like gang banging and selling dope, you know. This is like something like cool, you know.
Artistry.
Yeah. So I got into the like the East Coast like stuff, like the more hip hop stuff. And DJ Premier was a big inspiration with that. Like he was just, you know, doing stuff that I had that was really soulful and you know, really cool. And
So the music's been with you for a long time now.
Yeah.
You're talking about when you were a kid listening to this
Yeah,
stuff.
I was a kid.
But not just listening to it, you were like really gravitating to it. Like you were actually falling in love with like what these people were saying.
Well, because I was a big horror fan and stuff like that. And like I was very interested in like the occult and aliens and stuff. I think that was one of the reasons I connected with the Bone Thugs album so much. Not only was it like melodic but it was like street and like satanic almost, and I was like, oh, this is cool, you know.
It grabbed you. It drew you in.
Right.
It drew you in.
Right.
I do want to before we go further, because I don't want to forget this, but
so yeah, read away on this passage.
So
that's so cool.
So from last night, a DJ saved my life. The history of disc jockey. You know, because I saw you posted on Instagram, I wanted to buy this book, and I got into it. Cool. And I gotta be honest with you, I love it for a couple of reasons. So I have a bunch of books over here. One side is books I've read, one side is books I'm reading. And I was never a reader when I was growing up. I literally paid people in high school to do my schoolwork, whatever. And in the past year, I've gotten into reading so much that I pick up a book and I read it and I can't stop.
Nice.
And I love the fact that obviously I have a love for music. I have a respect for your industry and what you do for a living, that it's no surprise to mine that when I picked this up, like I was able to read this with ease.
Cool.
And I'm one of those funny people. I read the preface.
Damn. Well, me too. I gotta get into that. I haven't even been able to open it yet.
So I came to this part, and right away I had to highlight, and I'm like, I need to share this. So, a truly great DJ, just for a moment, can make a whole room fall in love, because you see, DJing is not just about choosing a few tunes. It is about generating shared moods. It's about understanding the feelings of a group of people and directing them to a better place. In the hands of a master, records create rituals of spiritual communion that can be the most powerful events in people's lives.
Wow.
I mean, that hit me at home.
That's so
hard,
cool.
dude. Because like I said before,
that's so cool, dude.
When I would go and dance for 5-6 hours, I was looking at that DJ with that exact thought in my mind. You're giving me something that I'm going to look back on and smile and love for the rest of my life.
That's really cool.
So I honestly want to thank you for doing what you do for a living.
Dude, thank you.
Because it's not an easy task. It's not simple at all. It takes great craftsmanship and artistry to put together a set and to give people something that they're going to hold on to for a lifetime, for those moments when life is thrown at them and they need something to look back on and be happy about. You're the creator of that moment. So I thank you for doing that for a career. It means a lot to me.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to understand that, you know what I mean? And just share that, because like, you know, DJing right now in this it's a dime a dozen. So like to you know, to see it like that is real. It makes my work more worthwhile, you know?
That's amazing. I'm so happy that,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm always about trying to put myself in the other person's shoes, and I'm highly the only, I doubt that I'm the only person that feels that way about what you do for a living. So
Very cool.
keep doing it. I love what you do.
Appreciate you.
I love
brother.
you as a human being, man. We're gonna sit down.
This is gonna be
times.
a great year. This is
Yeah.
gonna be a great year. I think we're definitely gonna
step it up.
definitely gonna be a great year.
We're hungry, and it's our turn to eat, right?
Absolutely.
I'm at the fucking table.
Oh, yeah.
I've been cooking food for too long. I want to fucking eat now.
Time to break some bread.
That's it. We're gonna do it often. I want to thank you for coming here on the show today on Lyfe Choyces Podcast. It's been an absolute
I really appreciate
pleasure.
you thinking of me and having me here.
Absolutely,
That really means a
man.
lot.
Yeah. Doors always open, like
Very
I said,
cool.
right? And for all of you following us here on Lyfe Choyces Podcast, thank you for coming out this week. We look forward to seeing.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out for another week here on the Lyfe Choyces Podcast. Don't forget to scroll on down and hit the subscribe button. Like, share, comment. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you didn't like. Don't forget to hit the bell to get notified when we post our YouTubes. And always remember, everyone, it's your
Ladies
move.
and gentlemen.
Much
You are
love.
now about
The Journey, Lyfe Choices Podcast.